Hi there. Today we're going to fix a couple of recipes from my cookbook of These You May Freely Eat. And these are recipes using greens, one of my favorite vegetables. I have two recipes in here that I want to show you. One is called garlicky greens. The other is called sesame greens. So we'll start with the garlicky greens. And this calls for 2 cups of chopped fresh kale or collard greens that have been washed. And the way I like to cut my greens is that I have right here just a little pile of some curly kale, and I roll the greens, whether they're the collard or the kale or other kinds of greens. I use a sharp chopping knife and just rock it back and forth over the greens as I cut about, well, really as thin as I can, but at least no more than 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, including the stems. You want to be sure you get your stems in there. And then into your measuring cup, and you want to pack this down because this is going to really shrink once it cooks. I'll just add a few more here. I have 1 cup in here already, and the recipe calls for 2 cups. And then you're going to put 1/3 of a cup of water along with 1/2 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. This is the best olive oil to use because it really gives a nice flavor. Now if you find that you're just getting used to eating greens, you might want to use a little more olive oil, but this is a very low fat, low calorie type recipe. Now what we're doing is letting this come to just a light boil. It doesn't need to boil heavily. If it does, you might need to add some more water. So just a light boil, and it takes about 10 or 12 minutes to cook tender. And then you're going to, after it's tender, I have a couple of cloves of garlic crushed that I'm going to add. And then when it's all done cooking, I'll add 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. Sometimes you like more, you might want to try a little more. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. As I said, you might want to use a little more seasoning, especially if you're just getting used to them, but this works out very nicely for us. The other recipe, your sesame greens, I'll set that aside for right now. And in this pot, I already have a cup of cooked collard greens. And again, this would take approximately 2 cups of fresh greens, but in this recipe, your greens are already cooked, and then you're going to add your ingredients, your seasonings, which is going to be 1 to 2 teaspoons of tahini. Tahini is a sesame seed butter made from sesame seeds. It's like peanut butter, but it's made from sesame seeds, and it's kind of a little bit on the bitter flavor, which makes a nice combination in the greens, along with some Bragg's liquid aminos, and that's what I use in this recipe. If you don't have the Bragg's, you can use soy sauce, or in my cookbook I actually have a recipe for making your own soy sauce. You're going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon of Bragg's that you just stir into your cooked greens, and then 1 to 2 teaspoons of the tahini. If you'd like, you can add a clove of crushed fresh garlic. That adds a nice addition to it, but it's very simple, and that's all there is to it. Thank you.